The early 2000s were a golden age for video games. Smashing hit after smashing hit was released across multiple platforms. But if there's a studio which defined this era of gaming, it was Rockstar Games. With Grand Theft Auto, they managed to create a franchise which represented an entire generation and upset currents left, right and center.
We need to treat violent video games the way we treat tobacco, alcohol, and pornography.
Yes, she's going to compare video games to the hub.
Glad I don't pay tax!
It reached a point where anything featuring this logo was assured to be a quality product, and among those outstanding games was one of the best arcade racers ever made, Midnight Club 3. The Midnight Club franchise started in the year 2000. The first Midnight Club game is interesting as Rockstar visited the United States in order to see its street racing culture, to the point where they had Dustin Worlds, the creator of the Mischief movies, which they were focused on tuner and street racing culture, and some of his friends race around New York City for the introduction of the game, going as far as featuring his modified yellow Mazda MX-6 in the cover of this new franchise. Yeah, this game had street cred already. By 2003, Midnight Club 2 released, and yes, it was an upgrade over the first game, but this year, Need for Speed Underground was released, and it kind of made Rockstar's franchise look dated, with its lack of customization and unlicensed cars. To change this, Rockstar started to work with Top Magazine, a publication which had some influence in the world of tuner culture, and thus, in April 2005, Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition was released for the PlayStation 2. Midnight Club 3 starts like most racing games. The game greets you with a cutscene featuring different characters, which have next to no influence in the game. You go from city to city, beating different racers, culminating in a national tournament where the prize is a Lamborghini Murcielago, a green Murcielago, bonus points for the rare color. But we have to start from the bottom. This isn't Forza Horizon. There are multiple options for your first car, which is excellent, from a set of early 2000s inline 4s, classic V8s, and even luxury cars like a Lexus, but I get paid in pesos so I can't afford this one sadly. With the keys to our first car, the game throws us in a tutorial race of sorts. Midnight Club 3 does things different than other racing games. Races don't take place in closed tracks. Even in games which feature street racing such as Underground, tracks are closed with barriers. In Midnight Club, the entire city map is open while racing. That's right, you can go and explore the entire city while everyone races, just don't expect to win any races this way. Given we aren't racing in a closed track, each race is a puzzle where you have to figure out the fastest route while racing. Each city is full of shortcuts which are vital to win races and are quite easy to miss, just like giving a thumbs up, which you should totally do right now. You can't take whichever route you please, as the path until the end is marked with checkpoints, but how you get to these checkpoints is up to you. This fact alone makes for frantic races, where you'll be trying to find shortcuts at top speed, wondering if we are truly taking the fastest route. Given how the tracks are designated with checkpoints which aren't in a straight line, there's always a brief moment where you might panic wondering where to go next, or make the wrong turn and lose your position trying to find the correct path once again. There's even a game mode where checkpoints are scattered all over the map, leaving the player to their own devices as they figure the fastest and correct path in order to win, which of course your opponents already know. These tracks will take you through city malls and even rooftops. The main roads are the last place you'll drive through if you want to get there first. I have to say, these cities are well crafted as a racing environment. There are 4 of them: San Diego, Atlanta and Detroit. Then there's Tokyo, which is an extra city featured in the remix edition of Midnight Club 3, which is a re-release with some extra cars as well, and it's probably the version you'll play today, and also the version I played for this video. I admit I have no clue how accurate these are to their real counterparts. I mean, I assume people don't drive off their parking lots there, and each city has their own vibe. From the cleaner look of San Diego and Atlanta to the depreciated and abandoned environment in Detroit, I say they are memorable enough, even if personally I struggle to remember tracks in this game. Maybe it's the open nature or the fact that I can take my eyes off the road to dodge the outrageous traffic. Midnight Club's 3 traffic is the most brutal I have ever experienced. In most racing games, traffic is a challenge, as there's always a luck factor of cars spawning right in your line or behind a blind corner. That always feels cheap for me, as there's always very little you can do to stop it. Midnight Club 3 takes this 10 steps further. Streets are packed full of traffic cars, which become more than a problem as you are driving at full speed. Trying to find a path and not crashing into these cars is difficult. Not just that, these cars move around, often switching lanes and giving you no time to change course and correct, giving you a few seconds to beg these cars have airbags. But none of this compares to the bizarre rubber band that traffic cars experience at times. When crossing different streets or going through the highway, traffic cars tend to move faster towards the player, which makes me wonder if the traffic spawns are tied to the player and nothing else. At least that's how it feels to me. Most hazards in these games are orientated towards you and nobody else. Traffic, hyper-aggressive police officers, which ignore the AI and throw their car at you instead. These police cars can make most wanted cops look like mall cops. You want to have many encounters with them, but you will remember those few, and you'll be grateful there's only a single patrol after you. If you don't want to see these guys in your nightmares, then you should subscribe to my channel. Less than 1% of my audience is subscribed, and I would like to change that, so click the subscribe button with your mouse or fingers. This hostile environment paired with the puzzle nature of each track means the restart button will become your best friend until everything aligns and you manage to finish the race. Yeah, it can be frustrating at certain moments, with traffic being unpredictable, losing races because you couldn't figure the right path in time, and opponents who always know the best path. It's common to be leading a race and lose the position because the AI have taken a faster route than you, leaving you no option but tapping the restart button once again. They also use the usual rubber band mechanics, which are so popular and broken in racing games. It's rare to be alone here. There's always at least 1 or 2 opponents behind you, ready to take advantage of any mistake that you will make. It's rare to see the AI make mistakes, and when they do, it's very rewarding and it gives you a bit of a toxic satisfaction, I'm not going to lie. In their defense, while the opponents do rubber band, they seem to adapt very well to the car that you are driving. Their performance is always at your level. Sure, there are moments where they just fly off and there's no chance to recover, nothing that a simple restart can't fix anyway. This mechanic translates to most, if not all, cars being viable for their respective class and category, which is great because there's a decent car selection to be enjoyed here. Many games focused on tuner culture didn't dare to venture much outside JDM cars, where the biggest thing you could aspire towards was a GTR or Supra, but Midnight Club 3 changes the script. This game is a love letter to car culture as a whole. Of course, there's the usual GTR and Supra previously mentioned, but there's also some less common highlights, such as the Neon SRT4, Chevrolet Cobalt, and Scion TC. It keeps tuners somewhat grounded as these budget performance cars to tinker with, which is nice. If you believe there's no replacement for displacement, there's a ton of classic muscle cars, which is fitting given the game takes place in 3 different cities in the United States, even if Ford is missing, only leaving us with GM and Chrysler. The classic Corvettes and Camaros are joined by some boats as well, such as the Monte Carlo, Cadillac Seville, and El Dorado. Not only you can create muscle cars, but low riders and pimp mobiles as well. These two are joined by probably my favorite category in the game, luxury cars. As the name suggests, it's composed of luxurious 4-door sedans and some coupes. In most racing games, these cars are relegated to the backside of the roster, often being terrible in a competitive sense, which is disappointing. I don't understand why games feature cars that are borderline useless yes, but Midnight Club 3 doesn't make that mistake. Besides, tell me another game where you can race a Volkswagen Phaeton. I'll wait. Another set of vehicles which might seem odd are SUVs, and they aren't limited to 3 random models here. Probably the highlights for me are the Dodge Ram SRT10, yes, this is the one with a V10, and Mercedes-Benz G-Class. By the end, you'll be driving full-blown exotics, Lamborghinis, Porsche, Gembala, Gembala, and even Pagani. Another highlight for me is the gorgeous Chrysler ME412, a concept car from the early 2000s, which looks better than most cars being sold today. The future was here already. This car roster is a time capsule of sorts, and I can't go through each model as it deserves, so look them up, or better yet, try them out yourself. And yes, I haven't mentioned motorbikes yet. The thing is, I don't know much about them. Choppers drive like tanks and they are my last choice for races, while sport bikes are a lot of fun and probably the best vehicles in the game. They have the speed of endgame exotics with even better handling, and their smaller bodies mean it's easier to avoid traffic at times. Sadly, one of the staples of JDM culture is missing. Honda is nowhere to be seen, as they had a brief crusade in the early 2000s where they didn't want to be featured in any street racing games, similar to Toyota in our present time. I can't wrap my mind around this mindset. If I had a car brand, I would be desperate to get my cars in media, especially when most people had stopped caring about them. Then again, I guess Toyota makes more money selling trucks to extremists in the Middle East, so what do I know? Well, I guess I know a thing or two about making good looking cars with the many options provided by Midnight Club 3. There's a decent selection of bumpers to craft a nice body kit, and they are licensed parts from different manufacturers, which is a nice touch. Of course, there's no way around this. The parts are very much of its time, and they may not be for everyone. The good thing is, you aren't forced to customize your car to progress through the game. This simple change has made Midnight Club 3 timeless in retrospective. Another side where Midnight Club stomps the competition as well comes with custom rims. There are a lot of different options to choose from. The special part comes with their in-depth customization for dimensions. You can change tire profile and width, allowing you to run very low profile tires and massive rims as it should be. Top seal of approval right there. It's also worth pointing out the rear rims can be scaled as well, independent from the front ones. Same can be done with ride height. I do have to say, I'm disappointed as there's no options to create a custom sound system, which is a vital part of outrageous builds if you ask me. You can be grateful Midnight Club is the furthest thing from a simulation with these builds. This is a pure arcade racer where cars have near infinite grip. However, it strikes that perfect balance where braking and some technique is required to get through corners without slamming into a wall or the edge of a wall, which is almost impossible to see. The main challenge in Midnight Club 3 comes from adapting to its blistering speeds and having quick reactions to either change directions, avoid traffic cars or other obstacles the game might throw at you. Every vehicle is fast as they accelerate with no effort and reach their top speed in a few seconds. Their responses are decent as you won't lose control from chasing lanes by example, but it has a bit of a nervous feel at times, which makes sense given the speeds you are driving at. The game does feature a very basic weather system. It can rain on some of the maps, but it snows in Detroit and it does affect handling quite significantly, at least on my experience. I found it harder to drive rear-wheel drive cars in the snow. While there's no such thing as weight transfer at play in here, there's a function which the game denominates as such, where you can put the car into wheels. Another aspect which is full-blown arcade are power-ups, which are available depending on each vehicle's category. Tuners, sport bikes and exotics have Zone, an ability which allows you to control the car with absolute precision as time slows down. It's excellent for making tight turns, dodging cars and capturing crashes in slow motion. Next up comes Roar, only for muscle cars and chopper bikes. As the name says, Roar is a sound wave which makes all the cars surrounding the player lose control. for a brief moment, allowing you a chance to get closer. This is busted, as you can charge it up by drifting, something which muscle cars are really good at, and you can just spam it as soon as someone overtakes you. Last but not least comes aggro, only available for luxury sedans and SUVs. This power-up allows you to plow through everything, crashing to cars doesn't slow you down and they go flying off. Out of these three, aggro is the one I like the least, as it's the hardest to charge. You have to crash into light poles, cars and the like, which slow you down and damage your car. Yeah, there's a damage meter, it doesn't affect performance however. Aggro is useful, just not as the other two. The way these power-ups are unlocked shows my favorite aspect of Midnight Club's 3 career mode. Each car category has their own club with races all over the United States. You unlock their respective power-up by racing them. Beat all the races of each club and you'll earn a shiny new car. The fact there's a club for each category is an excellent way to let us enjoy a varied car roster. Many games have near endless car lists, but not many of them can be used in reality. These clubs are joined by different racers who roam them up and have to be defeated. In some cases, these give the invitations to the different clubs. If it's the first opponent you see driving a vehicle from a category you haven't unlocked yet, that is. These drivers are only represented by a name or their vehicle. There's next to nothing to talk about them. If anything, they might as well be another irrelevant AI driver. Tokyo is different, as in order to progress you have to do random races all over the map. After enough races, you unlock a tournament. By the end, you'll win a Pagani Zonda. Outside races, there's not much to think about in Midnight Club 3, and that's fine for me. It's focused on delivering a racing experience which stands out from the rest, not with realistic physics, but outright chaos. The endless sea of traffic cars which block your path, the scattered checkpoints which send you in a mad dash trying to stay on route while finding the fastest path, the way cars accelerate and reach top speed in an effortless manner. Even to this day, I don't think there's a game which offers this level of chaos in each race. Besides, mention me another racing game which lets you drive the almighty Cadillac 16 concept. This is why, for me, Midnight Club 3 is not only worth your time, but a must play if you enjoy racing games. It's a timeless template for arcade racing games, and if you don't, say if you know Rockstar thanks to GTA, then give it a shot as well. Sure, it's a bit more complex than a GTA race, but it still has that bit of mayhem in it. You might find a new favorite game. I would love to hear about your experience with this franchise in the comments below. Alright, so that's another piece of nostalgia off the list. In the last month, my channel has seen substantial growth, and I can only thank you for this support. Last thing I hoped for was having a video of mine reach 100k in views, my first video of all things. I think I have improved over these months, and I do have plans for this channel. I admit this isn't a small-time project or hobby for me. There's more than racing games in the horizon, and if you are into cars, which I assume you are, I encourage you to stay around and subscribe. Wouldn't you like to be part of the next big thing? Alright, with that said, it's time to wrap this up. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.